Welcome back to the Parental Advisory Chronicles of a Sandwich Generation podcast. I'm your co-host, Tori.
And I am Shirley, her mama.
And last time we were here, we introduced ourselves. We talked a little bit about our mother-daughter relationship, how we navigated those awkward kind of coming-of-age years.
Exactly.
And how we had to learn our love languages. We had to figure out how we were going to navigate with each other through the ups and downs. And so we're going to pick up on that kind of episode of I'm Grown.
Look, let's be real. It wasn't all smooth sailing and it wasn't all a piece of cake, but here we are. We're still stronger and we're more connected than before because of all of this. So today we are just going to take a deeper dive where we left off post-college, where things really just got real.
We'll be sharing some of our most vulnerable moments.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
The toughest times, but also the most special times, the pivotal times.
And this is what adulthood is like, right? This is when it hit both of us. This is what we both had to learn how to make adjustments and redefine how we showed up with each other and for each other.
Absolutely. So without further ado, Parental Advisory starts now.
So let's first talk about when I got old enough to leave home and leave the nest and become really an adult. That's when I started adulting, because it's one thing to be at home with your parents where they cover you, they're protecting you, and you kind of don't see the whole world as it really is. You're living in like a little bit of a bubble and a cocoon. So my first time away was when I went away to college. I left them and never went back at the age of 17. So I went to the University of Maryland, stayed on campus there, and I enjoyed it, actually. I went away with a couple of friends that were from high school. We were all there together, and that was my first taste of freedom and independence and learning how to just kind of stand on my own. But at the same time, that's when also I realized that the cover had been lifted and there were some real life challenges that I had to deal with, right? Like bills and career paths and working my own job. And I was working when I was at home, but now I was working to pay bills. Yeah. Whereas before I was working to have a little extra money so I could hang out on the weekends because my parents were taking care of everything. So it was a whole notion to adult.
Oh my goodness. Same for me. So I left out when I was 18 and I moved out of the state. So I jumped the boat to Florida from the DMV. And for me, I think that was when I put my pinky toe in the pool of adulthood. Now, granted, life is when I jumped in after I graduated, but I will say undergrad is where I kind of got my first little taste of freedom as well. My mom had a saying too, when you leave home, you're not coming back.
I used to say that because I had actually raised her from a very, very young age to be independent and to not necessarily grow up just codependent on me. But I really wanted her to understand what it was to be out on her own, to be able to make right decisions, be around the right people in the right kind of environment. So I was hoping that all that I had put into her and the discipline and the consistency, that it was going to pay off when she left. Because I think, a lot of parents, when you go away, they're crying and they're upset and they're
no, not you.
I went to college, dropped her off, and I was like, baby, do you have a blast? I'm here when you need me.
It's been real.
Exactly. But I did say, you're right. You're not coming back. So making sure that when you go there, understanding that you start making decisions that you're going to be out on your own. I'm going to help you be successful, but I'm not going to allow you to come back home and then become codependent on me, pay a cell phone bill, and then all these other bills I got to carry, right? I got to take, because that wasn't going to help her be successful.
And it was a time in my life, too, where because my mom and I were so tight-knit, this was the first time from a distance standpoint, we had to start to redefine what communication looked like. How often we communicated. Now we had to be more intentional, because I don't just wake up and see her in the kitchen. I don't just see her every day as my life cycle.
That's right.
But I missed my mom, and I think in a lot of ways she missed me, if she admits it.
I missed you a lot, and we stayed in touch with each other as well.
Girl, she was on the road, y'all.
I had already planned things that I was going to be doing while I was now free and not having to pick her up after school. I wasn't going to have to take her away. Now, let's also remember, there were times every summer you would go away. You would go away to either with your grandparents or she was at camp. So she had a little bit of freedom there too. But let's be real. Yeah. They also had rules and they were disciplining. And it's nothing wrong with being Christian. But I'm just saying they had some guardrails around you.
So let me preface that. You're going to hear me interject and say they were Christian. And that is simply because that is a framework for the way in which they structured our activities. And I think it's a big part of my identity. And I love that I'm a Christian. Let me put that out there. I love Jesus. But I will say in those spaces, they were still part of my bubble. They were still very much part of the curated environment that my mom cultivated for me, right? So going away to camp, even though it was sleepaway camp, they were still worship. Mm-hmm. There was Bible study. Everyone around me were also like, some of them were PKs and church kids, and we were all of the same kind of framework and mindset. Mm-hmm. College was the first time, if you ever want to put it, that I went to public school.
Right. She was in a secular environment.
Yes, the first secular environment.
And you didn't have as many of the guardrails, right? Look, I couldn't tell her when to come in. I couldn't tell her when to go out. I couldn't tell her who to be with.
The first time,
exactly. So, but my hope and prayer was that now that you're out there, that you have had enough consistency and structure and foundation, you'll make the right decision. And then look, because I went off to college too. And look, I went astray. But at the same time, I came back to the foundational principles and values that my parents taught me as well.
Yeah. And I think in those years is when it started to introduce the adult hurts, the adult
heartbreak.
Yeah. You bump your knee and you scrape your knee and it's different than when you were outside on the playground. Yeah. These are life's woes, right? I would call my mom stressed sometimes, and it was different in that era because I don't know if we always had the language, or I didn't always feel like I had the language to express the levels of heartbreaks or the levels of pain because they were new.
Yeah. And look, here's one thing. Let's talk about this one real quick.
Okay.
So her very first week in college, she had a terror of a roommate.
Terror of a roommate.
I was going to say a terror and a nightmare of a roommate.
She was both.
Yeah, she was both. What was interesting was she was very racist. She had never been home. She was also very wealthy and isolated, insulated, but had never been around someone who looked like my daughter.
She didn't even give me a chance. And I think I'm very pleasant and amenable and easy going.
But I had to come back to the campus. I had to come back to the college campus. Within the first month, I had to come back because I had to handle that situation to make sure that she was getting a new roommate. She was immediately getting her out of there.
Okay. Yeah. So we're here, guys. Let's talk about also the descriptor that I left out in the very first introduction of my mom.
What was
Mama Bear?
Okay.
So this is King Kong. In case y'all didn't know, this is King Kong.
I think every mother can relate to that, or every parent can relate to that protective covering that you have. I wasn't a helicopter mom, but I was sure enough going to be there whenever you needed some backup.
And Shirley Davis didn't play. I mean, she could scrap. And here's the thing. I remember even back when I was in grade school, if I told my mom that somebody even
was bullying her,
they shoved me, me up,
called her a name,
called me a name. Shirley Davis was at the parking lot, ready for them to come out.
We're gonna handle our business.
How you gonna wait for my bully? I couldn't even get out of class before my mom was already outside. Which one of them is it?
Exactly, right. Point them out to me. So, look, that's a part of it as well. But I wanted her to know I was always there.
Always had my back.
Look, my parents were the same way as well. I had Mama and Papa Bear as well. So, they helped fight some of my battles. But I'm here to fight yours as well, too.
And so, thank you. Thank you, Mom. First, let me say thank you.
I got you.
But here I am, 30 years old. And what we're going to get into is how we had to redefine the way in which you fight my battles.
Yes, we did have to because look, I can't be scrapping today. I'm in my 50s now.
And we got too much to lose.
Exactly. That's the truth.
Right.
And back then I wasn't thinking about all the stuff that I had to lose other than just making sure that my baby was protected, that she was okay, and that everything was well with the world. But you're right. Now today we fight battles differently and we handle situations and we have a lawyer.
Thank you. But heartbreaks and battles and bullies and life, they look different. So the playground issues or even the college roommate situation, I think those are mustard seeds compared to sometimes what adulthood really brings.
Absolutely.
And so she was with me on my first heartbreak, and Mama Bear had to come out, and we had to redefine what the battleground looked like.
Yeah.
Because
and how to deal with it.
Because it was my battle.
That's
you know, sometimes as an adult and you're growing into your own womanhood, when you've had such a strong presence as a mom, you haven't learned how to fight your own battles because Mama takes care of it. All I had to do was hey, Mom.
Exactly.
And she solved the problem. And so a lot of our ups and downs sometimes was us just trying to figure out who's going to fight this one.
Exactly.
And how that's going to look. And then what I needed in a fighter, and how, like you said, the fights looked, the tools we used to fight.
They did. But you know what? I still would say if today, if someone hurt you, you know, to a large degree, I would still be there, and I'd still have to make sure I'm managing my temperament and my reaction and my response, right? But at the same time, I'm in my 50s, and guess what? My parents were still getting involved when I had heartbreak. Like I had heartbreak in my 40s, right? I had heartbreak in my 30s, and my parents were still there, and they were, you know, they were willing to jump in as well. And my dad was like, look, don't make me have to go to jail for you in my 60s and my 70s, right? And
thank God for prayer.
I know, right?
Thank God for prayer.
Okay. Sometimes you just have to pray things away and pray through things and just learn how to deal with them differently. But, you know, what's interesting is, in all of the times where I've had to deal with life's setbacks, I didn't have you to help me fight that battle. I thank God I had Mom, but I also had, you know, great friends that were there. But then I also recognize that on the flip of that, I was there to help you fight yours. Yeah. And I guarantee you that when you have your kids, you'll be there to help them fight it as well. But that's what we do with those of us who we love, those of us who are our, you know, parents, because I'll fight, you know, battles for my parents today.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll do it. I'll fight the battles for them too. But again, doing it very differently, diplomatically, tactfully today, and in a very strategic way. But we all do that.
And let me put a pin in that, because I think we've had good examples of looking back. But grandma, so the other part of the sandwich is our parents. I think my grandparents, her parents, and we've alluded to them. Another recent example of you or me fighting their battles is now that they're at the age where they're seeing the doctors more frequently.
Yeah, and experiencing some of the illnesses that come along with
We are the spokespeople. In those doctors' offices, we're their advocates.
That's right.
We're speaking up and we're asking the questions, because we also know that generation sometimes doesn't always have the trust of healthcare professionals. They don't. They're already nervous and anxious about being there. And so not only are we there for moral support, but I have found in this last year, I have to study up on whatever grandma or papa says is ailing them, because I need to know what to ask.
That's right.
Because they'll just sit there and say, okay.
Yeah.
You know?
They
and
will.
Mom has been really good too with grandma and papa, and helping them to navigate their older years.
It is. And remember too, it was only a few weeks ago that we had just gotten back in town.
My God.
And we walked in the living room, and my dad's arm had swollen up 2 to 3 sizes bigger than it normally is. His left arm, which is, he's left-handed. And within 10 minutes of us getting in
the house,
we looked at his arm and we said, we are going to urgent care right now.
And they were just sitting there watching the news all casually.
And Mom had been telling him to go, but he kind of pushed back and was resistant. And so at the same time, me and Tori came in there, and it was no resistance at all. Right. And within 5 minutes, they were in that car, and we were taking them to urgent care. And I'm so glad we did, because even the doctor looked at that and was like, oh my.
That is an abnormal presentation. That's what she said. This is an abnormal presentation.
And I'm going to give you a shot for this for right now. But if it doesn't go down in 24 hours, you need to go to the emergency room. So it's those kind of interventions, those kind of battles that we are fighting now that's a little bit different. But we're advocates now. We've got to be allies, but we also got to, you know, help be their spokespersons in those kinds of situations. So
and it's funny how your parents fought your battles when you're younger, and now you're fighting their battles.
Exactly.
The roles reversed as you got older.
And I still fight yours too, right?
And I'm going to be fighting yours too.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So that's a part of being the sandwich generation as well too. But I think it's important. See, the only way we can fight battles for each other is to understand each other, right? To be connected, to have that level of trust, and to be able to understand and be able to, because I've had to change a little bit and adjust a bit of my ways and approaches to my dad, to my mom. And I know you've had to do that with me, and I've had to do that with you in our adult age. I've had to handle them in a more gentler way, in a very different, tactful, diplomatic way. And always, you know, how we are sometimes with our men, is making it feel like it's also their idea and presenting it in a way that doesn't feel like their manhood is being challenged or that their pride or whatever is being attacked.
Yes, I live by the code that you win more with honey than you do with vinegar.
Absolutely. But what we did tell him, we told him, look, if did you know what we said? I said, if in 24 hours that you don't do what this doctor told you to do, we're going to be dragging you. I said, I'm going to drug you and drag you to the emergency room, and we're going to take care of this situation.
If we have to sedate you, we're going to make sure you
That's right.
So that's just a little bit of a microcosm into the ways that these different generations are kind of played out, right?
Exactly.
And us walking into our own as women, and we're Black women too. So I think in a lot of ways, there's so many conversations that our culture is starting to have now, especially about healthcare and helping one another, mental health, checking in on our mental health. And
absolutely.
How is my mom doing? Here's one of the things I have been parenting her on, right? Talking about parental advisory.
Yes.
Because my mom is such a giver and a doer, and she's
hard
so
to say
generous.
no. I don't say no enough.
And she's a helper by nature, and it's a beautiful trait that she has. But I think it requires someone to also be a protector of her, to make sure she's not being taken advantage of and to make sure she's not being overextended. And so that has been a learned pattern we've started to kind of cultivate of how do I talk my mom off the cliffs of helping the world and saving all of the world's issues by dawn. Because if she can't, she will. And then she'll, Tori, I'm so tired, or baby, I just need some sleep, or, you know, I'm exhausted, my body hurts. And I'm just like, well, you also could have said no to these 3 things. So it is loving her and reaching her in a way that I know she'll receive, because let's be honest too, those of us who carry the burdens of our family, and I shouldn't say the burdens, those of us who lead our family, my mom is a leader in this family, sometimes it is hard to understand what no looks like, because you don't want to let anyone down.
That's right.
Yeah, so no hasn't always been a friendly word, and I've kind of taught her that no is also self-care.
It is.
And it's the way in which you say
no. And I'm getting better. I'm getting better, but I also...
She's teachable.
I'm listening, right? I'm coachable, and at the same time, she caught me at a time when I was spent, right? I was exhausted, I was drained.
And I don't want to see that.
And at the same time, I was like, you know what? This is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So it took me being involved and saying yes to all of these and trying to be there for everybody and making sure everybody is good and honoring every request that came through. Because, we're here in Florida. Everybody wants to come visit. They want to be at the beach. So when they come, we're like the Uber driver, we're the chef, we're the maid, we're the tour guide, we're everything. And one of my love languages and skills and gifts really is hospitality and administration and organization and generosity. Yeah. So I felt that this year, and I said, okay, I'm promising you, I'm stepping back, and I'm going to learn how to say no and say it unapologetically and make sure that my no is a complete sentence.
Yes. And so I saw my mom, she was living very fast, right? She's a go. And I needed her to live long. Right. There needs to be longevity.
That's good. Don't just live fast.
Yeah. And don't just live big. I want you to live long. Yes. We look at some of the greatest people that we admire, and they've done these amazing feats and they've helped so many people. But let's be honest, they didn't make it past 60. And I did
That's not going to be my testimony.
And I didn't want that to be her testimony, but that requires a level of awareness and a level of pacing. Yeah. And so it was just loving my mom enough to say, okay, I love you, and I know you're not going to stop, but how can we at least prioritize and slow down?
Well, I'm going to stop. There was a couple things I said I'm just going to say no to.
Good.
And I've learned how to either say I'm not going to do it now. So no means maybe not now, or I'm just going to have other people do it.
Or delegate.
Or I'm just going to, absolutely, that's what I mean, delegate, giving it to other people. Or just like you said, pacing it. So maybe not this year, maybe next year. So one of the things that I decided even now was because we've had so much company and so many events here in our home this year. I don't want to say 8 to 10 already, and this is like August or September now, but It was August when I was like, okay, I'm not going to do this. So every year we also have our team come in. I have a team of people that's around the country, and they come in and they spend 4 days with me here at the home, and we do all, we go out of our way.
It's a team retreat.
A lot of great things. But I just said, you know what? We're not going to do it this year. This December, I'm really going to be intentional about not doing a lot of anything, but resting, reflecting, enjoying my me time, being in my happy place and my space of peace. So we'll just do it next year. Guess what? I'll send them all a wonderful, thank you gift this year, but we don't have to host for 4 days in December.
Well, that's news to the team.
Yeah. Hey. Oh, I didn't tell you yet?
No.
Oh, okay. So I haven't mentioned it to the team, but I just decided it.
Hopefully by the time this
airs, and we will have told the team that we're not going to do that this year. And they always have a blast and look forward to it.
And I support that because Mom has been on a hospitality tour.
I know, right? And for the last 2 years, I've also been writing books. Yeah. And I've had deadlines by the publisher. And my whole December, January had kind of been interrupted. To do all of that and then writing new LinkedIn learning courses. And I tend to write them when it's my downtime, but I'm not doing that. Yeah. LinkedIn, I love y'all. But I'm not going to write any more courses in December.
Not Christmas.
Holiday, vacation time. So
yes,
I'm good. So anyway, so I told you my love language was like quality time, acts of service, even affirmation. I do it, but I think my driving one is acts of service. What's yours?
My love language is quality time. Mm-hmm. I do love spending time and making memories, and we can go just do mundane things. We can go shopping,
make up stuff.
Yeah, we go movies. We can just spend time even doing this.
Yeah.
I like to express. So words of affirmation, whether that's me writing something to her, whether that's been like every year, I'll say this. She's a sentimental guru. So instead of buying my mom something really extravagant, I'll do something that touches the heart.
Yeah.
And so whether that's a spoken, like I'll make a video and expressing how I love her, or I write it in a card, or I do something that is indicative that she can receive.
Let me tell you some of like the most amazing gifts that you did, which was
tell me your favorite gifts.
She's always asking me, Mom, what do you want for your birthday? Mom, what do you want for Mother's Day?
What do you get the woman that has everything?
And that's true, but I said, you know what? Money can't buy certain things.
Yeah.
And I said, if you can create moments and memories, that's more important to me. So some of the best gifts that she's given me, and I cherish them to this day, is like one year when I turned 50.
Yeah.
She, and that wasn't too long ago. But one year when I turned 50, she had created and written down 50 little individual notes of these adjectives. So remember in the very, very first opening episode of this podcast, she kind of went down this list of things that she just used to describe me.
I did.
She wrote those. And so I keep it. It's in my office right now, and it's in a beautiful vase like this. Yeah. And in there, you just pull out a piece of paper, and it might be powerful. It might be confident. It might be, lovable. It might be intelligent. Yeah. So it's just those words of descriptors that mean so much to me. Yeah. So that was a wonderful, act of service for me, affirmation. It was. So that was really important to me. And then there was another one that she did was amazing. She wrote me this beautiful poem on why I love my mom. And she wrote it and put it in a really beautiful frame, and it's now hanging in my bedroom.
I did.
And you did that. And that, again, why I love my mom. And then she had one on there, her spirit. And then she put her heart. And then she
I did the acronym for Shirley. That's exactly what I did.
It was so sweet. And so those are the things that are memorable. Money can't buy those things, and they mean a lot.
Yeah. And as the ages have come and gone and we've gotten older, each time those things just don't go old. Their prices are timeless.
That's right.
They age really, really well.
And they don't cost a thing, but they came from the heart.
Yeah.
And that's what makes a difference. So for those of you who are always struggling, trying to find your parents or your kids, the best of gifts, know what their love language is, but also create moments and memories, because those are the things that they'll never forget.
Absolutely.
I mean, you bought me things through the years, and I've given her, a list of things. Hey, you get this, get that.
Yeah.
But it's never as memorable and as sustainable as things that come from the heart that they've been able to create.
I show my love.
Showed your love. Yes, yes.
Because I always believe, how will people know how you feel unless you tell them?
Absolutely. And how will they know what you want unless you ask?
Correct.
So I appreciate that.
So as we wrap up this episode, I hope you guys were I guess, amused a little bit about some of our backstory.
Amused, but I think they can relate to a lot of the things that we talked about and things that we struggle with and the things that, all of us in life have to endure until we can enjoy.
Yeah. And as we came of age and I got to say, I'm grown, and she was saying to her parents, she's grown, that pivotal moment of first adulting, that's kind of where I think we all started to develop our footing for one another as adults.
Yeah.
And it laid the framework for the rest of this journey that you guys will be able to be with us on after college, the post-grad years, for me, my 20s. Yeah. My God.
That's right.
I'm walking into a new decade. I'm finally on the 3rd floor, and it's a breath of fresh air. And I'm finally in the adult club where I feel like I have a little bit of life experience to contribute to these conversations.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap. I'm excited to see how we can continue to learn and love and support on one another. What about you?
I do too. I think, from navigating independence to adulting and to, just being in our space of peace and happiness and being resolved is ultimately where we want to be, right? We've endured the hard lessons. We may have more, but it's really about our love. It's about our acceptance with one another. And it's about continuing to have understanding with each other. Because sometimes all you can do is not only endure it, but you can laugh through it as well. So laughter, I think, is like a medicine, and it's helped us to get through some of our hard times.
Sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And you can laugh while you cry. And that's
we've done both.
We've done both. So thank you guys for tuning in today. Like, share, follow Parental Advisory, Chronicles of a Sandwich Generation. And I'm excited too because we have some more episodes coming up.
We got a lot. And guess what? I'm going to actually have my parents come on.
Yes.
We're going to talk to them about their experiences in raising us, as well as we'll talk a little bit more about some of their experiences in their new life reality.
Yeah.
So thank you again for joining us. We'll see you on the next episode.
Stay tuned.